George Washington was an incredibly influential member of the Founding Fathers in the establishment of the United States of America as a sovereign nation. He led the United States Continental Army against Great Britain, and he became America's first president following the war.
The Washington Monument preserves Washington's legacy through its imposing nature, connection to history, and role in unifying the country.
The first thing to consider is the sheer size of the monument, at a staggering 555 feet, 5 1/8 inches.
If you had to use just one word to describe it, what would it be?
It's huge.
It's huge. It's huge. Yeah, it's fair.
Tall.
Ginormous. Tall.
Apoteósico.
Overwhelming, massive.
Pointy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clearly, the main takeaway for many of the visitors is the physical stature of the monument.
In addition, to exaggerate the height of this monument, DC has implemented a rule that no other building can be built higher than the Washington Monument. And while this is mainly for practicality, as Washington, D.C. doesn't want to be urbanized, it's also just to emphasize the sheer height of this massive structure.
The large and imposing nature of the monument behind me is representative in many ways of Washington's impact on American society. And it is meant to give that feeling to the audience, who is the entire American public, whenever they view this monument, that compared to many of the accomplishments around us, which are representative by this field of grass, George Washington's personal achievements tower above them. And he has an incredible impact on American society. And the sheer size of the monument is proof of that.
Okay, the Washington Monument itself is made up of two types of stone. First, there's marble from quarries in Maryland, and on top is granite from quarries in New England. Now, structurally, it is supported with several steel beams. An interesting fact is that there's actually no mortar used in the construction. Really, it's just gravity and friction that is holding the monument in place.
The usage of marble and granite in the construction of the monument is no accident. The smooth white blocks of the Washington Monument, and especially the use of marble, is meant to be reminiscent of a very similar kind of architecture used in the classical era in the ancient buildings of the civilizations of Rome and the Greek city-states.
It is also important to note that the Washington Monument is an obelisk. The result of this is that a connection is formed between the monument and ancient Egypt, and much like the block from Rome, it compares the United States to these ancient empires, saying that Washington's legacy is just as powerful and lasting as the legacy of ancient leaders.
The final and most important way that the monument carries on Washington's legacy is how it unifies the nation.
Another important aspect of the monument are the 50 flags that surround it. Each of these represents a U.S. state, signifying the monument's importance in uniting the country as a whole. Furthermore, inside of the actual monument, there's a zinc box containing multiple copies of important U.S. documents, such as the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, many American newspapers, and even extremely valuable coins.
The fact that so many important American documents were entombed into a monument dedicated to George Washington's memory is indicative not only of the importance of Washington in unifying the disconnected British colonies, but it is also representative of the very sacred nature of the monument as a symbol that is purposely linked to imagery of the American state. The Washington Monument's effect as a unifying factor in America is also obvious through some of the historical scandals surrounding its construction.
At some point in the 1800s, the Vatican sent a brick over to be used in the construction of the monument, and it was from an old Roman temple from the 300s BCE, again, to be built into the monument. And the know-nothings, once it arrived in Washington, D.C., and came to the monument grounds, took that brick from that Roman temple and threw it over there into the Potomac River. It's very representative of the widespread anti-Catholic and just generally anti-minority beliefs that a lot of Americans at that time had. And it's important to understand when talking about the monument, the impact that a lot of those very majoritarian beliefs had on America, even within the construction of the monument itself.
There are two interpretations to the Washington Monument. One focuses on the country's continuation of the legacy of these ancient empires, seen with the use of a block from Rome and the design of an obelisk, while the other seeks to set both Washington and America apart from the rest of the world, demonstrated through the actions of the Know-Nothings. At the end of the day, however, both of these interpretations see the monument as a way to unify the country. No matter what one's definition of America is, the monument fits into it and carries on the legacy of a person who has spent most of his life attempting to unify Americans into a sovereign state.
It's not a thing of loving or hating, but to be part of it, and in some way we have been part of it. And it's important to know where comes the influence that have been influencing us for the last couple of hundred